4 with 8.3 million, and a haunting in Venice in third with 6.3 million. I'm Lisa Lacera. This is Fox News.
You are live on the Kip Capley Show. Happy Monday to everybody. We are back in the booth again with the man, the myth, the legend, Lawrence Sutton. And to his right, my good friend, the Giles County Rattlesnake, Chris Morris, and obviously I'm Kip Capley. How y'all doing?
Doing good, buddy. What's going on?
Living the dream, baby, running around. We've been all over all four counties. I've been to Murray and obviously all over Lawrence at the fair. If you hadn't been to the fair, you need to go. And I've been in Wayne County a bunch and spent a little time in Hardin. So we've been riding around.
Well, good afternoon to both of y'all.
Yes.
Good afternoon, buddy.
Great to be in great company, and a shout-out to Strike.
Shout out to Strikers, baby. If you need something to eat, you need to go get it at Strikers, and if you've had something good to eat, it was probably from there.
I want to give them a compliment.
Okay.
Went out to a well-known restaurant, steakhouse, yesterday evening, and I have to tell you, nobody can compare to Strikers. And everything we ordered, well, we don't have no lemons for water. We have no croutons for salad. Oh, and by the way, we're out of onions.
Oh, Lord.
And, you know, one thing I did like, I got my salad, and I was able to eat my salad. They they brought us a couple of rolls and forgot about the other ones in the oven. But anyway, we got our salad done. And, you know, they're not rushing you with throwing your food right in front of you. But 45 minutes later, when I got my food, it was cold. Oh. So I have to say, Strikers, keep up the good work.
You know,
good service, great food.
We'd always get good service there.
That's right.
I'll say that. But you know the reason why you're not getting your croutons, your onions, and things like that, don't you? It's called Bidenflation. Bidenflation.
Have you noticed how portions have gone down in size, but the prices went up?
The prices went up. You know, that's stagflation, and you know, I'm having to buy twice as much to eat what I used to eat. I mean, yeah, especially the candy bars. I mean, I don't know if you guys notice that, but you know, used to you get a $1 candy bar, and that $1 candy bar is 6 inches long.
Correct.
Now you go and they cut it in half. And they try to tell you you're getting super-sized portions, and you're paying $3 for that same candy bar that all they did was cut it in half.
That's that Bidenomics.
When we were young, that candy bar was 30 cents. For that 6-inch candy bar.
Maybe when you were young. I don't remember 30 inch. I don't remember 30 inch. I don't remember 30-cent candy bar.
But
I remember 50-cent candy bars.
Let me give you a firm fact. You know, everybody's disposable income, including mine, is depleting.
Yeah,
and I know it's got to be in everybody else's household, and it's so sad. I think about the folks that's already retired and they don't have much retirement. They may have worked at a place in Pulaski like Genesco, and they get $35 a month retirement, and then their Medicare or Social Security, I'm sorry. And, you know, everything's going up tremendously. Do you know how much the same products and services, we're talking about your clothing, your gas, your electric bill, water bill, whatever your basic necessities that you use month in and month out have increased an average of $484 per household.
I can believe it.
A month. Now, this is on a month.
I know that. I remember before COVID, and we moved up here in 2011, and I could go to Walmart and feed a family of us 5. We'd go to Walmart and eat for $100 a week and eat fairly well. And I went to the grocery store went to Walmart, and it was $185 for some of the same stuff, and that was for 4 of us. That when 3 years earlier for 5 of us, when my son was, you know, still in high school and stuff, that we were paying $100.
You know, I love how the Democrats say we've got 6 to 8% inflation. No wonder we've got such a deficit.
Well,
they don't know how to figure.
No,
No.
they know how to figure. It's that.
Oh,
old,
yeah, that's
it's
true.
It's that old adage: figures lie, and liars figure.
Yeah.
And that's what they do. They are going to figure it to how they want it to make themselves look good. But you know what? The American people they think that the American people are stupid, but they cannot take away when people are going to the grocery stores, when they're going to the stores and they're having to buy their clothes and shoes and things like that, and seeing what is happening to the prices of our goods and services. And I'm going to tell you guys, it's going to get a lot worse.
Yeah.
We are at
It
the
is.
beginning, and I hate saying this, but there has been no currency that has never gone to zero once you've gone to paper currency, and it's called finite currency, and no finite currency has ever not gone to zero. So, and I tell you what's amazing about this is, we both really have read the Constitution, and the Constitution, there's nothing in the Constitution about printing of paper money. It is the minting of coinage. Mm-hmm. But if you go read the Constitution, there was given nothing in the Constitution about the printing
Paper
of
currency.
paper currency.
Yeah. Yeah, I filled my truck up. I filled my F-150 up last Friday. It was empty in Waynesboro, and I had 10 cents off a gallon, and it cost me $110
Yeah.
to fill my truck up. I don't know how people are making
Where
it.
you used to fill up for 50 or less.
Yeah.
Or less.
More or less. Yeah. I don't know how people are making it.
Hey, I think you were on fumes, though, probably, too. You almost had to call me,
I
didn't
was
you?
bone dry.
Yeah,
I
you
was
probably had to call me.
bone dry. Yes, sir.
Well, Kip, give us an update. Anything going on a state level that our listeners need to know about?
Nothing I can think of right now. I'm just working on some legislation. Couple different things. I'm working on a pretty good gun bill, and I'm not going to talk about a lot of it in depth because I don't want anybody to steal it. I got a good gun bill I think a lot of people are going to be really happy with.
They wouldn't do that,
working
would
on.
they?
Oh, you never know. You never know. You never know. And then I got another one that I'm looking at that has to deal with some of these flags that people are flying in the schoolyards and in the buildings that are, let's just say, not appropriate for the learning of small children or
Absolutely.
middle-aged children. Yeah.
Well, like they say, we're here, we're queer, we're coming for your children.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just not.
I
Not
hate
pertinent
hearing
to their
that,
learning.
But it's factual.
Yeah.
That's the sad part about it.
When you need to believe, when people tell you something, you need to start believing them.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, and I think we mentioned this before, and but I feel like we have to mention it again, is the fact is the people, when the homosexual community cannot reproduce, so they have to recruit. Mm-hmm. And that's what we need to realize, is that it has to come through recruitment, not through reproduction.
Kip, last week you talked about the young lady that started transgendering
Yeah.
at 15 and testified
Yeah.
before you guys in the House
Yes.
on that subcommittee. That was a touching story,
It was.
and I feel so sorry for that person.
Yeah. It was awful.
I don't understand why her parents let her do this, how anybody could do or try to take over and play God.
It's terrible.
It is terrible what this has done. And you made mention, I've thought about the comment you made that the young lady even hates to look at herself in the mirror.
She said she couldn't look herself in the mirror because she didn't recognize the person that she had knew, and she was just devastated. I mean, she was in tears and was crying and pleading with us to do something about it. And a lot of times I know on this show we're like, well, we don't need the government to step in, but this was a case where we needed to just stand up to the liberal Vanderbilts and those other doctors that are just, they're out for money. That's what it is. It's all about money. They don't actually care about the well-being of the child. If they did, they would never have the conversation in the first place. And, I was going down this rabbit trail a little bit, I was talking to a group in Murray County, Riley Gaines. Y'all know Riley Gaines, a former SEC champion swimmer, champion for female athletics. She lost a race or a meet or whatever you want to call it, folks. I'm not into swimming, so you just have to forgive me. But to a transgender 6'4" man who was dead last in the rankings when he swam against other men, and then he switched over to the women's division and was just slaughtered. I mean, just they couldn't even come close to him.
That's correct.
So we were standing there, and I was blessed to be one of the ones to introduce her. And I made a comment, and I was thinking about this the other day after it was over with. And folks, I don't curse a lot, but it's a damn shame. It really is a damn shame that we have to sit here and talk about what bathrooms that we all know we need to use, keeping men out of women's sports and keeping women out of men's sports. First off, it's dangerous. I mean, good Lord, it's dangerous. And I'll just tell you, I can remember being, it hadn't been that long ago when I was playing sports in high school. Wasn't no woman need to be around on the fields that I was playing on.
When you're playing football.
When you're playing football or basketball or soccer or anything
baseball,
else.
I mean,
baseball. There was a whole lot of full speed action, and I'm 6'4", and I wasn't as big as I am now because I've gained a little belly weight, but it's dangerous.
Is rough.
It is rough. Yeah, a lot of fish, a lot of catfish, and I love fish. Lord have mercy. But it's dangerous.
The thing, what I'm talking about is like footballs and hockey or heavy contact.
Heavy
sports.
Contact. Yes, sir.
And basketball.
Yeah.
But
soccer.
And soccer. I agree. But the hit from a man to a man.
Yes.
That's terrible. That would be terrible on a woman.
Oh gosh.
Well,
Terrible.
I will tell you this. I don't know of too many. When I'm hearing this about the sports, there's not too many women that are transitioning the men that are wanting to go play men's sports.
I mean, you think about
there's a few. There's a few.
You think about let's just take an example like the UFC or something like that. Yeah. I mean, can you think of a man who's had testosterone raging through their body for 18 plus years and wants to go fight against, just decides one day, well, I'm going to be a woman, and transfers over and wants to fight against women? It doesn't matter if
that's what I call a sick individual.
That's right. It doesn't matter what kind of drugs they're on.
We called them sissies back then.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, a man that hits a woman, what we do with them.
It's
there's no.
It's a shame that we're sitting here having to have conversations that we all know what's right and wrong. We shouldn't have to be talking about, again, what bathrooms to use, whether or not we need to have homosexual material in the classrooms, whether or not men should be playing in women's sports. We got real problems. We got an open border where 90% of our heroin and fentanyl is flowing through every single day.
That's right.
We got veterans that are homeless, that can't afford nothing, can't get on health care. They get hooked on dope and they're left in the dust. We got inflation blowing through the roof where people in the 71st District that just graduate high school and go to work can't afford a home. They can't start a family on their own because they can't afford it. We've got water shortages. We've got tax problems. We've got so many things.
Basically, we got a mess.
We do, and we're sitting here, and we have to mully grub and whine and talk about things that are so ignorant that we shouldn't even be talking about. I told them, I said, my granddaddy would be rolling, and he is probably rolling in his grave to know that I have to stand on a stage and tell people men shouldn't be in women's sports.
Do you ever look at it as a distraction?
Yeah, it is. But the problem about it, as far as
what is to come.
Yeah, the problem is if we don't address it while it's here, then you let something slip through the cracks, and we just got another mess on our hands.
Let's bring it down to people in Hardin, Wayne, Lawrence, Giles, Murray, Lewis, Perry. Let's talk on our level.
Yeah.
The biggest concern that I see is our children right now because of that phrase that I hate to hear.
Right.
And what every citizen out there, everybody needs to, if you're not registered to vote, shame on you.
Yep.
You need to go get registered to vote.
Yep.
Go to your local election commission.
You don't have to do that.
We've got it at
we have it at the Republican Party booth at the fair.
Well, great.
We can register anybody and everybody. we're wanting
Go
to
do
get
it.
people
Please.
to vote.
Well,
Please.
I want to say everybody's not going to the Lawrenceburg Fair.
Right.
Yeah.
But if they're close by,
and
come on.
I am
Yep.
appreciative of you guys doing that. But at the same token, where I'm going with this, and like I said, we do everything raw. We don't know what each other's
No,
going to say.
no.
But in our thought patterns go, sometimes they hit spot on, sometimes they cross. We're at a crossroads. But where I'm going with this is the elections coming up in 24 of the school boards
Yep.
in these counties, and most of them are the even districts
Yep.
in those counties. And you need to be paying attention because a great friend of ours over in Houston County has been trying, and that's over in Aaron, Tennessee. It's in West Tennessee
Yep.
for folks that don't
Shout
know.
out to Jay Reedy.
But anyway, yeah, shout out to Jay Reedy. But anyway, small communities like that, just like Perry County,
Yep.
like Wayne County,
Yep.
everybody's just about family or like family.
Yeah.
But we have people in our own family who think different than Lawrence and Chris and Kip.
Yeah.
We do.
And that's fine.
They don't think conservative. They have that liberal way of thinking. And these type folks are the people who get on our school boards.
Yeah.
And we need to be concerned, family or not. We need to be concerned about who we're putting on those boards of education. There's so much in the schools, and where I'm going with this, my dear friend over in Houston County,
Talking about
and I'm
Mr. Barth.
going to hold names. I want to hold names. Had put in a request and had to go through all kinds of mess just to get his request honored in that small county. And they say, "Oh, it's not in our schools." Well, guess what? He's digging through it, and it is in Houston County schools. So if it's in Houston County schools, it's in Lawrence County schools, it's in Giles County schools,
It's in Murray
it's
County.
in Murray
we know
County
it's in
schools.
Murray County. We know it's
And
in Murray
I
County.
know that it's in Lawrence County.
Yeah.
At one time. Now I hope they cleared it up. I understand you guys have got a great director over here, and I'm proud of that.
Michael Atkins is a good man.
And I hope and pray.
His job well, he does.
And that's great. That is great news. But when I hear of people saying these things are coming up into counties close to us, and things are happening like children are wanting to identify as animals like cats, they call them furries, and it's going on. It's sad that these things happen. So listen, if you don't do anything, be paying attention to those school boards, grandparents, great-grandparents, and parents. You ought to have your butts kicked if you're not doing your job. And one thing that we all got to work towards is having people at these school board meetings and their planning meetings. I know we all can't be there, but we need to work on that.
Yeah. And, funny you talking about that. I was riding down the road during one of my many travels to Wayne County and Murray County and all around Lawrence County and Arden County, everywhere else. And I just kind of got to thinking, a lot of people don't have time to invest in politics, and they say they don't. And we really need to start focusing on our state and local level, not only elections, but just the policies and the people that we have in office, because there's so much that can be done at the local level and the state level that people overlook. And the thing is if you think you can trust the federal government, especially right now, I don't know what you've been smoking, but it's probably some pretty good stuff, because they are as corrupt and crooked. And I'm not talking about anybody specifically. I'm not talking about our Republican representatives. Don't be sending this to our congressman saying, "Oh, Kip Capley's done called you crooked and corrupt." I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about Joe Biden. I'm talking about Kamala Harris. I'm talking about
Chuck
Schumer. I'm talking about the weaponized DOJ. I'm talking about those folks.
It's the bureaucrats, really. The
Yes,
bureaucrats
the
is who's
bureaucrats.
causing the problem.
Exactly. And when it boils down to the local level, we have to be lockstep with one another, or we're going to be in one more mess. I'm just here to
correct.
tell you, we
You
are
know
going to
what?
be in a mess.
Did I mention this last week? I know I've slept a few times since last Monday.
Yes, sir.
But did I mention about that group called, and I don't want to give much attention to them, but they call themselves Rev Com.
I don't know if we talked about it or not.
Okay, they're revolutionary communists.
Oh, yeah, and
They came to Columbia
all three of
just
them.
to try to prove a point. Those three, well, there's another three stooges. They came down there and they think they, yada, 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 they burn a flag on the courthouse square where Jason Aldean filmed.
But that's their flag.
Yeah, they burned their flag.
They burned their flag.
And, but still at the same token, they're pushing. They're pushing the envelope, as I call it.
Right.
But I want to switch to something on a national level that will resonate and hit home.
Yeah.
And we're going to pick on the state of California.
There
are a lot of good folks in California, by the way.
There are, and
it's just certain areas.
When you're talking about California, before you start on that, it just brought me to attention when we were talking about what was happening, with the transgender things and why would parents do that. Well, California now is making it, they're trying to get it passed where if you don't affirm your child, they'll take your child from you in California.
God help us.
I know. Can you believe that? If you do not conform to what your 12-year-old or 14-year-old thinks they want, that the state of California will step in and they will do what's best for your child.
Well, this is going to hit home. And most of this concentrates in L.A. County, which is Los Angeles.
Yep. Bastion for hope in America.
They don't stand for Lower Ardmore or Lower Alabama.
No.
But anyway, number one, 40% of all workers in L.A. County, which resonates to 10.2 million people. Now, the state of Tennessee is a little over 7 million. Are working for cash, and guess what? Not paying taxes. I got a question. The famous three-letter word, why? You know why? They're illegal immigrants. They're living off the system, 40% of them, and they're working for cash, and they're not paying taxes. They're a menace to society. Now, if this is going on in California, guess what it's doing? It's going to affect all of us. Now, 95% of all warrants in Los Angeles are for illegal aliens. It's astounding. 75% on the most wanted list in L.A. County are illegal aliens. 2/3 of all births, and here again I've got guess what? 2/3 of all births in L.A. County are on Med-Cal, or like our TennCare, and paid for by the taxpayers, and they're illegal. 35% of the inmates in California, in the state, just not L.A. County, 35% of the inmates are Spanish nationals. That's overwhelming. 300,000 illegal aliens in Los Angeles County live in garages.
Good Lord.
50% of all gangbangers in L.A. are from south of the border. This is overwhelming when you stop and you think about it. 60% of all HUD properties or Section 8 housing in L.A. are occupied by illegal aliens. They're killing our society.
So I'm curious about that. It's been a long time since I bought a house, but how do you buy a house or you rent a house without having, at least a driver's license? How does that work, or a social security number?
In California, I think everything goes. Honestly, with that governor they got out there, Gavin Newsom, who is Nancy Pelosi's nephew, they don't play by the rules that we play by here in Tennessee. They play by their own set of house rules. And something else I'm fixing to touch on is going to make us all a little mad. I just wanted to point out 21 radio stations, since we're on the radio, in Los Angeles are 100% Spanish speaking. 21 stations out there. 90% of the growth. Now, here's a big one. In 3 states, California, Florida, and New York, 90% of their growth has resulted from immigration.
You mean illegal?
Yes.
Illegal immigration.
Right. And you know DeSantis is doing everything he can trying to stop that too.
And he is. He's doing everything within his God-given power without losing his sanity. But 29% of all U.S. inmates in prison, 29, nearly a third, are illegal aliens.
I think the number on that's like $32,000 a day per inmate.
I think it's a little higher than that now.
Is it? Mm-hmm. It's a lot of money for illegal immigrants.
And they're going to break this system.
Well, you know
Or
what?
they've done broken.
They've already broken. I'm
Yeah.
just going to tell you this now. I mean,
Right on that.
we are at a I think we're already past the breaking point. It's just when does the cards fall? You know, the cards are starting to fall for China
The
right
House
now.
of Cards.
The House of Cards, and it's falling for China. I mean, China's in some bad shape right now with what they're going through. They are really in bad shape. The Chinese are, and people are not seeing it. I don't know. I know this. We're closing in on $33 trillion, and I can't grasp
Our deficit.
Our deficit at $33 trillion, and I can't
And
grasp
climbing.
that. And you know, little over 20 years ago, we were at less than $5 trillion.
Yeah. I think going back to China, I'm pretty sure I read a report where they're having like a population crisis.
They are.
Because back in the day, they were doing that. You know, you could only have, how many was it? 2 kids?
No,
one kid. That's right.
And
then
they were mostly boys.
a majority
'cause
of them were killing
They
the
destroyed
females.
the females.
Yeah,
did.
and only wanted boys. So now they're having a population crisis, which people don't talk about. They're like, oh, big bad China, you know, and they're not. I'm not saying they're certainly, you know, we need to take them very seriously, but they got problems too.
I hope each one of you guys, I have sent messages to our U.S. congressmen, different ones in the state of Tennessee. We've got 9 congressmen from this great state. 8 are Republicans. We won't talk about the one idiot in Memphis.
Yeah.
But he don't count. He don't even know where he's at. He's like Biden. He don't know whether Santa Claus is for real or they being led by the Easter Bunny.
That's right.
But last Tuesday, do y'all realize something that happened last Tuesday in the United States, especially in our Senate?
No.
I am so upset. And it's the same thing that occurred in the House, where people want to break decorum. They want to have it their way like it's Burger King.
Right.
Chuck Schumer announced a major change to the dress code to informal to take care of that lunatic John Fetterman, where he got up in a Senate committee in his shorts, his Bermuda shorts, and his pullover hoodie, Carhartt hoodie, and tennis shoes to conduct business of the great United States. Now, how embarrassing is it? How come we're dumbing down everything just for one person? I don't understand.
It's not for one person. It's for Joe Biden. I mean,
I'm talking about like for Fetterman, but yeah, that's all.
Yeah, it starts from the top. I mean, I saw this thing the other day. I don't know if you guys seen it, but there's a rapper that is called LL Cool J.
Oh yeah.
And Biden, couldn't even pronounce his name correctly, and then he turned around and called him that boy.
That boy, and now Biden's being called a racist.
Uh-oh.
Well, you know what? I'm going to point this out to our black community friends. Go look at his record as a senator. You know, starting from the 70s all the way through.
From 72
on, and you will see he was always and voted against the black community.
He did, and
He
a lot
made
of
several
people,
comments.
but they won't. they don't want to accept that. That's what bothers me. You tried to tell, and we all got a lot of great friends, and he has done things that's ludicrous and said things towards the African American community. And I don't understand why they're not outraged.
They
are. Some of
they're beginning to come around. They are saying, "Hey, come around. Y'all are right,"
and they're seeing it. And I don't want to be right. That's the problem. I don't want to be right, but I have got to call it out when I see it.
He literally said on national television, "If you don't vote for me, then you ain't black
enough. You ain't black enough.
You ain't black enough." Can you imagine if Donald Trump said that?
They would have stoned him to death right there.
He'd have been shot.
That's right.
It's crazy.
It is, but this is the society we live in. We could actually do a whole week and not even get off the air and talk about all the mistakes that the Biden administration has made.
But give us plenty of material.
I did see something I was kind of happy about, but then I don't know if I'm happy about it.
Okay.
But good old General Miley's going to step down.
I did see that. That's great.
And it is great, but
Miley Cyrus?
Yeah,
might as well be. Yeah.
Might as well.
Hey, you're talking about General Millie.
Yeah,
Millie.
Miley, same thing.
What a joke.
Yeah.
What a joke.
He is, but what is going to step into his place? That's the thing that bothers me is, it's kind of like deal with the devil you know instead of the devil you don't know. And I just can't imagine what is going to come in behind him and how much worse that could be.
A lot of people are down on Senator Tommy Tuberville from Alabama, the great Auburn coach.
Former Auburn coach, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are down on him because he's held up this process.
There's a reason he's probably held up this process.
I'm going to tell you why he's held it up. I give him kudos. And I hope the military people, I don't upset them too much because I highly respect our military and the service for everybody that's out there. Thanks to all the veterans.
Shout out to our veterans and active duty.
But what he's trying to do, he's took a stance where the military is, like in the great state of Tennessee, they're sending people who want to do abortion to states who still perform abortions, but we as the taxpayers pay for that and their travel.
Right.
And that's where he's taking a stance to try to stop the abortion. So a shout out to him, and I know that's pleasing in God's sight.
Yep.
So nothing else matters.
Well, and that's it. If we go and we look at and I was discussing with the gentleman today at the fair, is I'm not doing it because of the Republican platform. I'm doing it because of what God says to do in the Bible.
The biblical platform.
The biblical platform is why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it. And there's something that's very, very, I'll say a little bit concerning to me. But you look at the Democratic platform and you go look at the Republican platform, and it's almost like saying go look at the Bible and go look at the Satanic Bible. It's that far apart. But here's the problem with our Republican platform. Our Republican platform honors God, honors country, and honors the people that are working and making this country as good as it is. Mm-hmm. But you know what? The Democratic platform, they don't stand for anything that's righteous.
That is correct.
And it's bad, but what makes it even worse is there's a lot of our Republican people out there, and this is where I get in trouble. The R behind their name, for Kip stands for
Here
Republican.
we go.
But some of our Republican people, it stands for reprobate, and they do not even follow their own platform. Well, I would be curious to see how many of them can I've read their own Republican platform.
Yeah.
I would like to know that. And I tell you what's also very, very interesting, and I'm just going to let the cat out of the bag on this.
Come on, let it out.
But you go read the Democratic platform when it comes to guns and gun control, And go read what our governor
Special session.
was put on the special session. People, don't take my word for anything. I tell everybody, don't take my word for anything. The best education you can give yourself is self-education.
Yep.
Amen.
I can help you, and we all can help you.
Sure.
We can point you to the right direction. But it's like a church. If you're in a church and the pastor tells you, you just believe what I say and what I'm telling you, and he doesn't encourage you to go read the scriptures, you might want to start looking at a different church. Mm-hmm. And I would say that even with this radio program, we put in a lot of, it's kind of interesting. We all put in a lot of effort to bring in the information to people. But like you say, we don't call each other up and go, "Hey, I'm working on this," and "What are you working on?" We just come here and we just talk what we have in our notes.
Yep.
And
We don't rehearse at all.
No.
The only thing I did was call you today to make sure we were still meeting at the radio station and not at the fairgrounds.
And not at the fairgrounds.
That's the only thing we
Hey, you
rehearsed.
can lead a horse to water, you can't make him drink.
You can't, and that's going to be funny because Wednesday, our Republican show Wednesday is going to be at the fairgrounds. We're going to have it out in the fairgrounds. So
Who is your guest on Wednesday?
it's just going to be Brandon and I for now.
Okay.
Just because we're afraid there might be some eggs thrown at Brandon, not at me. All the eggs will be thrown at Brandon.
Wait a minute. I thought you were in the Duncan booth.
I'd be safe in that Duncan booth. Have you seen some of the liberals throw?
They throw far left, don't they?
if you're here, if you're watching our YouTube, here's how they throw.
Well, the thing about it is, that's the only thing we talked about today is, hey, are we meeting at the radio station or are we meeting at the fairgrounds? That's the only thing we rehearsed. And Charlotte said, come to the radio station. The fairgrounds, you'll broadcast better from here tonight. Tomorrow, they're going to have everything up and running good at the fairgrounds. So,
But I tell you, here's something else that's interesting that came up. How much attention, Kip, have you been paying what's going on in New Mexico? With this gun grabbing.
Lately, I hadn't looked at much. I've been running around, but I did follow it for a little minute.
There's something very interesting in that there's this National Association of Governors that that this Governor Grisham belongs to.
Yep.
Also, Governor Whitmer belongs to it. Newsom belongs to it. You know who else who belong to it? I'll give you 3 guesses, and the first 2 don't count.
I think it's the governor of the great state of Tennessee.
That's correct, Bill Lee. But here, Governor Grisham in an interview, you know how we sometimes say the quiet part out loud, but we do it on purpose?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
She said the quiet part out loud and stuck her foot in her mouth.
Uh-oh.
The question was asked to her, does she believe that her issuing this executive order, does she believe that the criminals are going to follow her executive order? Mm-hmm. And she actually said no.
Yeah.
She does not see the criminals following her order. So why would you issue an order like that then?
We had a lady, and I've talked about this on the show before. We had a lady that claimed to live in the 71st district. She was with Moms Demand Action, as Chris so lovingly calls them, the commie mommies. She come in my office, and she had her red T-shirt with the Moms Demand Action, whatever. She come in there. She said, "Hey, I'm your constituent. I want to talk to you." And you can tell, I seen her shirt, and I'm like, well, I know about how well this is going to go right off the bat. And I thought, yeah, why not? So I let her in there, and she lit into me, was cussing like a dog about how awful I was because I supported the Second Amendment, and I didn't want any restrictions on firearms, and how I was going to keep pushing the other way and make sure that our citizens had their full Second Amendment rights, not infringed, obviously, in any way, shape, or form. And I just flat out told her, I said, do you think criminals follow the law? She said, well, yeah. I said, really? She said, yeah, criminals follow the law, I said,
then how do they become criminals?
How they become criminals?
How is
That's
it
the same thing I'm thinking.
How are you a criminal if you follow the law? No matter what law we put on the book regarding a firearm, a bow and arrow, a knife, a baseball bat, whatever you want to call it, vehicles. I mean, that's another great example. I mean, DUI is illegal. Guess what? People still getting drunk and driving. I mean,
Every
What
day.
about the
all
war on
time.
drugs?
War on drugs. Just say no. People are still doing dope.
How many more people?
It does
are
not
dying?
matter. It does not matter what law
tremendous
we
amount.
put on the books. It doesn't matter. Criminals are not going to follow the law. So why does it make any kind of sense in the state of Tennessee that we would restrict people that already follow the law and make it harder for them to follow the law? It doesn't make any sense to me. Because
To
if they're
protect
following
themselves
the law,
from the criminals.
from the criminals. If they're following the law, then obviously they're not going to break the law regarding firearms. So we want to make it harder for them to protect themselves against criminals in order to stop crime.
But see, you're for freedom.
Yep.
And I'm going to tell you something. Self-defense because of the Second Amendment. And if you don't like the Second Amendment, if you don't like the Second Amendment, you're not going to like the First Amendment. You're not going to like any
The
of the
10th
amendments.
Amendment.
The
Yeah.
10th Amendment, any of them. Leave. Nobody's making you stay here.
We'll get you a one-way ticket out of the country.
we
right.
will, but self-defense.
You can leave whenever you want.
No return.
No, one-way flight.
Self-defense is right,
Yeah,
but safety is a personal responsibility.
it is. How many times have we said on this show, we've got great law enforcement. We've got great sheriffs. We got great city police. We got great constables. I was talking to one of our, shout out Nathan Self. I was talking to him at the football game. But at the end of the day, and I don't remember the statistic, one of y'all might remember and I can't, but when you call 911, if somebody's breaking in your house, I think it's 5 minutes is the average response time across the U.S. I'm not real sure.
5 minutes would be awesome.
That
I think
seems
it's
like
higher.
that's too short.
Yeah,
Maybe it is.
yeah.
Maybe it's like 8 or 9. I
It
don't
may
know.
be 14 minutes.
Could be. I can't remember. Anyway,
maybe 5 minutes to get.
if you're relying on the sheriff's department or somebody else to come and protect you and get to your house in time, you're a fool. You are.
you are.
I'm sorry, but if somebody's breaking in your house, it is your castle. That's your place. You have to stand your ground, and you have to protect yourself and your family. And what doesn't make any sense to me is that the liberals want to make it harder for you to do that.
But we know why.
Well, yeah.
I mean, it has nothing to do
Yeah.
with your responsibility to protect your family. It has everything to do with if you get the guns out of your hands, then the Second Amendment is what gives our Constitution teeth.
It's all about
Right.
control, baby.
It is.
It's
Now,
all
one
about
thing
control.
you mentioned a while ago, and I want to give credit where credit's due. The commie mommies, I borrowed that from Dave Vance, who is the
Shout out
Stewart,
Dave Vance.
who is the Stewart County Party Chair.
Okay.
So shout out to
Shout
Dave
out Dave
Vance.
Vance
I don't
for the
want
commie.
him to cut my feet out from under me. 'Cause
Shout out to Dave Vance
he
for the commie
always, he
mommies.
said, "Look, them commie mommies." That was, and you've heard it 1,000 times.
I love
But
Dave Vance.
You get me started on something, Lawrence, every time, and I got to looking at some things, and we get to talking about our founding fathers, and there was one of the smartest ones, the guy who wrote the Constitution, Thomas Jefferson. Read one of his comments yesterday, and it's just a sentence. It says, "A government big enough to give you everything you want is strong enough to take everything you have."
Yeah.
What have we got going on right now?
That's exactly what.
What have we got going on right now?
And it's not that far away when they get the guns out of our hands that they'll be taking our lives.
Yeah.
Remember England?
That's right.
That's how they did it.
Well, that's what
They took up arms.
It just goes back full circle, like we was talking earlier. You have to be strong at a local level because when the federal government fails you, you have to rely on your own community
That's
because
right.
they're not going to be there for you. It took Bush. How many days did it take Bush to get water to the Superdome in Katrina? A long time.
Long time.
I mean, you got to
It
rely.
wasn't in 24 hours.
No, you got to rely.
But you know what they
on
did
your
in
own
24 hours?
Community.
Destroyed the Superdome.
No, I know what they did was they sent out people going around the house to house
Yeah.
taking people's guns and declaring it a federal emergency. Have you forgot about that?
I had forgot.
I didn't.
They did.
And you're looking at me like, shame on you.
Well, no, it's not that because it's like
I forgot about it.
I did too.
But you know what? It's like Building 7. Building 7 wasn't hit by anything.
How about 9/11, folks?
9/11. Thank you, kid.
Yes, sir.
But Building 7 wasn't hit by
And
anything.
how it fell.
And it just fell.
But, the thing about it is, when you cut a tree, it don't fall straight down.
No, sir.
it falls to the left, to the
Right.
right, and sometimes it'll kick back on you.
It's
You go
true.
straight.
But these buildings,
right.
you know, and I
went
stop and
flat
they
down.
went straight down just like you had
Maybe
explosives.
a explosive underneath? No.
Hey, I've always heard
You know.
jet fuel don't melt steel beams.
It doesn't, but
What I've heard.
we better be careful because you know what happened to us. In case people don't understand, listen to us on the radio.
Right.
YouTube banned us.
Yep. Yep.
We got kicked off
That was last week's show
for telling the truth.
for telling the truth.
That's right.
You know, and that's what's wrong with America today. We're not getting enough of the truth. And the same thing that I give a shout out to Brandon all the time, and he said, sitting in that chair you're sitting in, Kip, it started in the church house, and I
It does.
wholeheartedly agree with him.
Absolutely does.
Because preachers, ministers, clergy, whatever you want to call yourself, you're not wanting to preach the gospel
Well, I was talking to Mama the other day,
or afraid to preach the gospel.
and my brother, and you know, I've always been real careful about when I go out and I talk to folks. Obviously, first thing I tell them, you know, I'm a Christian because that's big in my life. It's a big part of who I am. But I don't like politicians as far as that goes. They use that a lot as a mantra of trying to get votes and trying to get. And I'm always real careful about that because when you call yourself a Christian and you don't act like a Christian, number one, you're making all us other. Well, I don't want to say all us because I've made mistakes before.
We all make mistakes.
We're making ourselves look bad when you use the Lord's name and you're running around and speaking out of both sides of your mouth and you're lying and you're stealing and you're being corrupt and you're doing all that other stuff just to get votes. And I'll tell you all this, and I'll tell this to all the folks back home. I am more scared of the good Lord than I am of anybody walking around here on 2 feet, because every single one of us is going to die one day, and you're going to have to sit before that throne, and he's going to talk to you, and you're going to have to answer for every single thing that you've
Action.
done.
The Bible tells
There ain't no
us
avoiding
that.
it.
But
It's going to happen.
But you know what? You brought up something that most people misinterpret with the Bible, and it's taking the Lord's name in vain.
Yep.
Taking the Lord's name in vain is not necessarily cussing out and saying, you know, what we can't say on air.
Yeah.
But it's really taking the Lord and using the Lord as your crutch and saying that the Lord stands behind what I'm saying and doing.
And the same thing in denying the Lord.
Yeah,
you
that
know.
too. How many times have we heard? I mean, we've all heard it. How many times we've heard bigwig politicians say, "Well, I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian, and you know that's a big part of who I am." And then they turn around, they take money from China, they sell out their country, they're sleeping, you know, with other women that are not their wives.
That's whoremongers.
They're whoremongering. They're doing drugs. They're going out and doing this, that, and the other, and they're using the name of the Lord when it's convenient for them.
We got
That's
that
a
in the
really
White House right now.
that's a
don't we?
really scary thing, folks.
Very much so.
That is very scary because I'm telling you, I promise you, everybody's going to have to answer for it. And I tell folks all the time, I'm a whole lot more scared of the Lord than I am anybody down here.
You know, of course, he tells us, "Fear not, for I am with you."
That's right.
So we're supposed to be not fearful. We're supposed to be without fear.
That's right.
And that's the way we need to think. And he's got us.
He does.
If we have fear, how can we have faith?
You can't have both.
And you know, in Revelation, when Satan is thrown into the pit of fire, there's also people that are thrown in the pit of fire with them, and like you mentioned, the whoremongers, the liars,
fearless,
the blasphemers.
the blasphemers. But you know, the very first one that's on that list is the
Fearless.
fearful.
The fearful. I keep wanting to say fearless. It's
Yeah.
fearful.
It's the fearful. The fearful.
Number one.
Before liars,
Murderers.
before effeminate, and they even say effeminate, you know, in there. Before all of it, it's the fearful. And that's what's kind of got me, you know. That's what COVID taught me. I mean, I would never say I was a fearful type person anyway, but COVID brought me out.
Yeah.
You know, COVID brought me out because I seen for what it was. And
Well, it was a test, you know, and don't get me wrong. I know COVID was for real.
Sure.
I had it.
60% of my family died from it because of how they
and
were
we've
treated.
talked about this, but it was also a test.
It was.
It was a test to pump fear, that 4-letter word, into Americans.
How much are they going to give up?
And how much are they going to give up?
How much are they going to give up
There
if
you
we
go.
tell them to? How much? How far can we push this? Let's just see how far we can go.
Well, you know it's coming back again.
It's like little Johnny. You keep telling little Johnny you're going to tear him up. Wear that rear end out if you do this one more time. Well, you never tear his rear end up, and Johnny gets away with it, keeps getting away, and then next thing you know, he's in prison.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you never took action. And so the government is treating us the same way. And that's so sad that so many people cave.
It is. It's pitiful.
They really cave. You know,
It
if
is.
you really stop and think about it, they don't stand up for their true liberties and freedoms. And I'm so proud you do as a state representative, and
I appreciate
everybody
it.
needs to be thankful they've got people like you in the 71st District.
Thank you.
We need to be thankful for the Clay Doggett has
That's
got
right.
part of this area. It's the 70th.
Yeah.
And Giles County and part of Lincoln. We need to be thankful for the Clays and the Kips.
Well, I appreciate that.
Absolutely, and don't forget about, like Kip says, Big Joey.
Big Joey Hensley, baby.
Joey Hensley.
God, I love
Hey,
him.
we were together.
I love Joey
listen,
Hensley.
Joey and I were together
I'm telling
Thursday
you.
night.
I'm telling you.
I thought I had not been to a doctor in 15 years, and I went to Joey because I trust Joey,
Yep.
and I have lost my faith in our medical system. But I didn't lose my faith in Joey, the man, because I seen what he did during COVID and how he treated people during COVID. And I'm like, okay, I got some issues I need to take care of. The gout, which is, I mean, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. Even Joe Biden, I wouldn't wish it on. And I just tell you, I think the world of Joey Hensley.
You can't help
he's a
but
good
love
man.
him. I mean, you just
you can't.
Well, he's straight up constitutionalist.
I'm telling you.
I'm going to tell you.
But what a
He's-
good doctor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I haven't never had to ask Joey for anything in the medical field.
Yeah.
But I would say if I needed something, I could rely on him.
Well, let me just tell you about Joey in Nashville. Joey, I brought a lot of bills to Joey. Joey's never told me no. Joey's never questioned my intentions. He's never made me jump through any kind of hoops. Every time I say, Joey, I got a bill that I need your help with in the Senate, send it up to my office.
Count on
Let
it.
me sign it.
Do you know-
I'm ready to go.
Do you know why he doesn't question
Every
your
time.
intentions?
Well,
Because a man,
Yeah.
because a man that has integrity thinks other people has integrity.
yeah, and we
too.
got that good trust and relationship back and forth. If he's ever needs something, he can call on me and some of the other reps too. And it's just, but I mean, he's automatic.
Same with
It's
Clay,
just the
though.
same thing with Clay.
Same with Clay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, one thing I
absolutely.
want to mention, y'all are going to go back in session the second week of January.
Yep.
Want you guys, you and Clay and other state reps, good friends of ours.
Yeah.
And Joey's a state senator. Paige Wally
Yeah, Paige.
is a state,
Yep, Paige
Yep.
Wally.
state
Yep.
senator.
Shout out Paige.
There's some bills that some of the House members were wanting to take up in this special session.
Mm-hmm.
And a great shout out to the Senate. They stood their ground. They
did.
stood their ground. But
But
there's
we
some
need
of
them to
these
continue.
bills.
We need them to continue.
That's right. There's some of these bills, some of these House members are wanting to bring before y'all. You better watch.
Yeah.
Proceed with caution.
Yep.
And there's some things that I don't understand, but we're gonna work it out.
Yeah,
But
we'll get
before
there.
this ends, shout out to
Shout out
Strikers.
Strikers, baby.
Yeah.
We always got to give that shout out. Shout out to
Shout out
WDXE.
Strikers. Shout out WDXE. Go get you something to eat at Strikers. Get you some takeout or something, man.
And listen, I want to tell everybody, if you enjoy what we're doing and we're trying to bring you, we're not trying, we are bringing you the truth.
Yep.
Right.
Okay. Go to that subscribe button on Facebook.
Yep.
Follow us.
Follow WDXE.
Follow
the show.
WDXE. They got a lot of great shows.
Go to
a lot of
Vote
different
Capley.
people. And go.
VoteCapley.com.
That's
baby.
true. And hit that subscribe button
That's
on
right.
YouTube. Help us out.
Kip
I
Capley
don't know
for
about
state
YouTube
rep.
right now. What would be the exact opposite of a shout out? What would that be? Because that's what I want to give to YouTube. YouTube can kiss my butt.
Well,
I'm just going to tell you.
I know what I want to say, and it's not. We can't say it on radio, but
Yeah,
there's
that's right.
other platforms. If they want to kick our show
Absolutely.
off,
Yeah.
guys, we can go to other platforms and help
Absolutely
out.
can.
We talked about that recently because
Yeah.
man, when I noticed we were kicked off, guess who I text? You too.
Yes, sir.
I said, listen, we've been kicked off.
Go to votecapley.com, votecapley.com. Go to Kip Capley, 4th State Representative on Facebook. Please follow me so you can keep up with everything we're doing. I go live when we're in Nashville, talk about stuff. And
Hey, can we follow Strikers?
follow Strikers on Facebook, too.
They got a Facebook? See, I don't have Facebook.
I don't know.
so
Go,
don't
yeah,
know.
they do. They do.
they?
Go to Striker
Okay.
Steakhouse on Facebook. Go
Tell
ahead
them
and
that you're
follow
going
them.
to get a meal because of
Yeah,
us.
tell them you heard about
That's
us.
right.
Tell them you heard
It
about
might
them
get you
from
$1
the Kip
off.
Capley Show. It might. You never know.
You never know.
You never know. Anything's
They
possible.
might charge you more.
Until
This
next
is
week.
WDXE, W287AA, and W237FD Lawrenceburg. Broadcast services of Prospect Communications.